So I was explaining to somebody, because we've worked together for a while, I was like, yeah, one of Jessica's superpowers is just like, she's just not afraid to do things.
You do have that fear, but they do it anyway.
Yeah, and they also, it's either they have the fear, they do it anyway, or it becomes a loop because they've done it in the past, they trust themselves more. But the question is, who are you trusting? And you're really trusting yourself.
If you're an agent, you're watching this, what did he just say? Be coachable.
Yeah.
Be quick to act, and even though you might have fear, do it anyway.
Do it anyway. Yeah, and surround yourself with people that encourage you to do that. Because
So what I wanted to ask you, because you seem like a credible source.
Sure.
All the agents that you've coached, the ones who do really well, what are some things that they have in common?
Yeah, so one of them is that they're extremely coachable, meaning that when we talk about something, as we're talking about it, they're online implementing it, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Or the next time we hop on a call, it's already been done. So that's one of the key characteristics, is that they have a penchant towards action. I think their urgency is very high, and as such, there's less resistance to what it is that we're talking about. I find that sometimes people slow themselves down because as a result of that, but the ones who get really favorable outcomes very quickly, they just implement right away.
So of your clients who are maybe more analytical or slower to implement, are you seeing this with those folks as well?
Yeah, so those folks, their tendency is to slow things down. Their tendency is to resist until they perhaps either fully understand it. But I think what's interesting, whether it's analytical or just in general, the underlying because we think that we're thinking beings that feel when we're really feeling beings that think. So the underlying kind of emotion is actually fear, just like being afraid to take action.
Okay.
So I was explaining to somebody, because we've worked together for a while, I was like, yeah, one of Jessica's superpowers is just like, she's just not afraid to do things. And even if you mess it up, or like it's not what you thought it would be, or the slide deck doesn't work, or something happens.
Or we didn't turn the camera on during the podcast.
Right, which I know happened to you before. So you just have a penchant for action.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's underneath, you're just not like, as you do more, you don't become fearless, you just fear less. So I think independent of somebody, analyticals, they have a higher propensity to like kind of want to think things through. But it's really, I think all of us, independent of personality profiles and styles, it's really the emotion of fear that keeps us stuck, or uncertainty, or a lack of trust in ourselves that I'll figure it out.
So of all of your high performers, they maybe do have that fear, but they do it anyway.
Yeah, and they also, it's either they have the fear, they do it anyway, or it becomes a loop because they've done it in the past, they trust themselves more. That, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out.
And they just keep trying.
Yeah, and then they just keep doing it. And then really what they're doing, because, I'll be in a room and a lot of people say that they need more confidence to do things. But I always ask them, I'm like, what do you think that word means? And they'll give me these very interesting answers, And it actually comes from like a Latin derivative, and in Spanish, confianza means to trust. But the question is, who are you trusting? And you're really trusting yourself. So when you see somebody that's confident, what you're really saying is, man, they trust themselves a lot.
Because they show up for themselves.
Yeah, and they trust in their ability to figure stuff out, if that makes sense. So I think formalized schooling does us a really big disservice. It teaches us that like making mistakes is wrong, and that cooperating is cheating, which is like dumb, because that's not the way it works in the world. And really failing is how you learn, and how you cultivate trust in yourself.
So if you're an agent, you're watching this, what did he just say? Be coachable.
Yep.
Be quick to act. And even though you might have fear, do it anyway.
Do it anyway. Yeah, and surround yourself with people that encourage you to do that, because 65% of us live in families that live paycheck to paycheck. That was my experience. And as a result, you hear things like, hey, be careful, Jessica. Like, that's a little risky, or right?
Yeah.
So surrounding yourself with people that are encouraging you to step into things that they know to be helpful to you. So it's figuring out, like finding a guide, I don't even like the word coach, but like a guide who's just a little bit further down the path, knowing that they're not going to tell you anything that's not in your best interest. And then when they suggest something to you that's uncomfortable, like having an environment where not only the guide, but also people in your kind of circle, they support you and encourage you and cheerlead you to try to do things that are uncomfortable.
To get a good support system around you as well.
Yeah. And that starts with family, but then it can become like, you know, like an organization or whatever,
Sure.
like we're building.
So having coached so many agents and seeing so many people achieve, I'm sure you've also seen some people decide that this industry wasn't for them, or, you know, maybe the opposite. What are some of the common themes in agents that don't work out?
Yeah, so what I've seen happen more often than not is not just ones that like where they decide this isn't for them, because usually by the time, like when I'm working with them, they're producing. You can only behave in accordance with the way you see yourself. And money has an addictive quality, and because of it, we get addicted to the way that we receive it. So as such, those agents who fade away or kind of plateau, they do so because they've basically plateaued in learning. You know what I mean?
They think they know everything.
They think they know everything,
feel...
or they're really afraid underneath to learn something new.
Okay.
And they don't see themselves as somebody who does more. You know, so they stay plateaued. Like, you know, I meet agents, they've been doing like the same amount of deals, same income for like 5-10 years. And it's just because it's their identity, it's the way they see themselves. And plus they're not learning anything new. So they'll keep going back to the well of maybe where they get information and keep going back, but they're not learning anything new, and then they don't grow and they wonder why.
So if you want to stay in this industry, learn new things is what you're saying.
Yeah, you have to stack skills. So like, in other words, you know, I've been stacking skills for almost 2 decades. So first I learned the skill of what to say and how to say it. And that allowed me to list, you know, 100 homes a year, 10 years in a row, do 200 deals a year twice. But then I learned the skill of the systems that are required in order to do that level of production consistently, right? And SOPs and CRMs and all that stuff, and listing coordinators, transaction coordinators. And more recently, I stacked the skill of media. You know, when we first met, like, my media was my wife posting pictures of our kid. You know? So I learned that skill. And then I also learned the skill of attraction. And so it's just continuing to stack skills, and as you do that, you just make yourself more valuable. So, you know, I think, for example, if we bring that back to agents, you know, the loudest voices or the, you know, the kind of gurus in our space, they talk about the 4 horsemen. Expireds, cancels, for sale by owners, just listed, just solds. And they just recycle them every year, every month, based on the season or the flavor of the month, right?
Which will get you to...
It'll get you to some transactions. The challenge is, though,
it's the foundation.
Yeah, it's the foundation. If you stop there, if you don't learn new lead sources. I mean, probate for me took me from 100 to 200. It was a new thing, but I had to learn it. It was new, it was uncomfortable. I didn't know, I had to drop down into like unconsciously incompetent, where I didn't know what I didn't know. But then, you know, 5 years later, I'm an expert. And we're doing 60 of those a year or whatever it was. Same thing with media, same thing with like attraction. So
we see that in our prospecting group. A few of the gentlemen that you've coached are in there, like Mark Ramey.
yeah,
And while some of the agents are calling expireds, right, one of the 4 horsemen, he's already taken his 3rd appointment in the
With
time
probate.
that we've just connected with like
Yep.
wrong numbers.
Yep.
So it's been interesting to watch what you're saying firsthand and how those skills can really run circles around what other people are doing.
That's right. And now we're starting to see, because we are helping agents to understand that the commission sometimes can be a mental barrier to this whole other side of real estate, like with creative. You know, we had Pace Morby at our summit, and